I believe I have to say,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jay Michaels. We are here once again in the Passion Pit. And now we're speaking to a star on the rise. We're speaking to KALONJEE GALLIMORE. I got to know him on a project, and we spoke about this when I interviewed Mario Brown. We spoke about this in Common Ground, and it is the true story, if you will, of the Emancipation Proclamation and the relationship between Lincoln and Douglass. In this time now, that play has changed in many ways. Mario told us all about it, how he was there with it for the last 2 or 3 years, and how he watched the show go from Lincoln taking the final bow to Douglass taking the final bow. And that just became, as history became more clear, as the power of the characters just became more clear. We're now talking to the actor who played Frederick Douglass. KALONJEE, tell my viewers a little bit about you and how amazing you are.
hi. Thank you for letting me be on the show. Thank you for just letting me talk about just say my piece, I guess. But my name's KALONJEE GALLIMORE. I am an actor, singer, dancer, hopefully writer, producer, director later on the rise. But yeah, I'm more so, I started doing theater, well, seriously in high school. I got accepted to DeKalb School of the Arts, which was the arts high school in East Atlanta. I studied theater, dance, voice, film, a lot of stuff there. And then that's why I really cultivated, just my love for theater and my love for the arts. And after that, I applied to NYU Tisch. I got accepted, thank God. And then I've been training there for the past 2 years, even on Zoom, for the past, 4 months or whatever. So yeah, I'm studying musical theater there. I'm also getting a double minor in the business of entertainment, media, and technology, also producing. And then I'm getting my MA in performing arts administration. But yeah.
He's being very humble. He, if not for the quarantine, he would be the proud owner of an equity card, as he was accepted to a professional regional theater for their season. He's doing part of their season this summer and will be continuing it next summer. So that card will be his. We all just got to stop taking off our masks for him to get it.
Oh my gosh.
Now, KALONJEE, you played a very pivotal role in Common Ground. You were Frederick Douglass. Now,
Yes,
this
sir.
is on so many levels. He was a great but very flawed man. The amount of amazing work he did is finally coming to light the way it should, I think. And that's,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, from Lincoln taking the final bow to Douglass taking the final bow, showed that. How did it feel working on the show and playing such a part?
Yeah, obviously Frederick Douglass is just one of the first people you kind of learn about in terms of African American history, in terms of people who are just molding the nation. Obviously there have been so many before him, but he's just the one that stands out in terms of our early history. And just being able to just slip into his shoes and just plays. I'm 19, and then he was in his early mid 40s. So that was a task. But just reading about him and learning more about him and learning about the issues and how he went about making change for the Black community it was an honor to portray him, and thank you for that.
My pleasure, truly. I don't know if I ever told you, each and every person that would come over to me during the rehearsals, during the performance, whatever, they'd always whisper in my ear and say, "Where did you get him from? He's brilliant." So my pleasure. Now, I am not 19, and I remember when John Kennedy was thought of as this great iconic figure, and I watched as the decades went over and over and over, and we learned that he had relationships with Marilyn Monroe, that he had dealings with other powers. He went from being this monolithic character to being someone even on drugs. If you look at last season's episodes of The Crown, which the part was in there. How do you feel about Granville's take on it, where we see Lincoln and Douglas as flawed men, where we see there may have been dalliances in their lives, that they as men were not these monoliths? Do you think that helps in learning about history and understanding history?
I mean, I think what's great about that, I feel when talking about black, I feel like oftentimes when there's white creators of black stories, there can be, it can be a double-edged sword. It could be like either when in bad terms, just like, just full on going into stereotypes and just being mired in the stereotypes of like what this monolithic group, you think this monolithic group looks like. But then I think there's also the opposite end where they're portrayed as just saints and perfect people. And so when I feel like when you have either of those, opposing up, like opposing things on the spectrum, and then only those things, only like the angel or the demon are portrayed in our media, in our theater, and everything. That just gives growing up. If I were to just have seen that, I would just be like, oh, I can't live up to the standards of one of them. But then, oh, I only see the generalizations of like a thug or like a just anything like that, any generalizations of black people in that regard. So I think that while it is amazing that I think we have to highlight like the change that he brought, we have to just highlight how much he shook the nation. I think it's also good to also just remind people that people are human, and that's that.
I've often found that it makes them more of an inspiration, because you're right. When someone is portrayed as, this is the ultimate, we all kind of say, I can't be that.
Yep.
But if we see somebody who puts his pants on one leg at a time, then maybe we all can rise to such an occasion.
Yeah, definitely. But I definitely think it shouldn't be portrayed in a way that like overtakes the fact that he brought about like so many improvements for black people. But yeah, definitely I think just showing that part does just personalize it a bit more. It just makes it more realistic to where when you have that call to action to bring about the change, how like slavery, how all this stuff has affected our current day society, because it still has affected us. But I think that brings about a certain call of action that is both relatable, and it feels like, oh, I can do this. I don't have to just be this monolithic, or not monolithic, but just monumental character that yeah, regular person can strike change as well.
Who you
Although
are,
he is
makes a great
an
change.
amazing man, like he was a great man. So
Yes, yes, indeed. How do you think the show looks now? There is major change going on all around us outside of our doors. How do you think the show looks now? When we saw the show in November, and now we think about the show now, how's it different?
well, I think the whole purpose of the show is just talking about it's just finding the common ground between Lincoln, Douglas, between blacks and whites, between just how do we take the differences, and then how do we like create one nation, one nation. But I feel just how it kind of ends on like this amazing, on this like great note. It's all gonna be like hunky dory. We've like Emancipation Proclamation happened, yay! But then we still have the prison complex where it's privatized, and then to where blacks and largely blacks and Latinos are being still imprisoned, still enslaved for free labor, and they're being like imprisoned at higher rates. We still have like systemic issues in our nation to where it's not just like it didn't end with that Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't end just there, and I feel like there are just a certain amount of while it is, because I talked to you during the directorial process of just the song of Let Me Begin, just how he's grasping with the fact that he can't just he has to be the spokesperson. Like he has to be diplomatic. He has to be, I guess, palatable in a sense. And there's just such a heavy burden that is placed on him to just, I feel, to just forgive and forgive, not necessarily forget, but forgive. And I feel like right now, like we did not build these systemic problems. Like Black people, the Black community did not build these systemic problems. And so I feel like it's largely the burden of our white peers, of our white leaders, to unravel it. It's not just going to be, I feel like it's just, you shouldn't just be seeing Black people at protests, at Black Lives Matter protests. You shouldn't just see, Black people, reposting or like just bring awareness to this or being impassioned or being, horrified and like aggravated at these events, at these like reckless, loss of lives for no reason. Like it shouldn't just be Black people. The burden shouldn't just be on Black people. And so I feel as though, there's just, with the common ground, I think there's like a bit of give and take. And so with that, there's just a bit of, okay, so I'm gonna do my part, and then that's just it, and then they're just gonna have to meet me halfway on that. And I feel there isn't, it's not just enough to be not racist at this moment. Like we have to be anti-racist in terms of we have to all be actively participating in dismantling a system that profits off of the oppression of Black people and just indigenous people of color in general in this nation. And yeah.
So it's not just enough to shout unfair. It's I've heard this from so many different leaders, including Barack Obama, where it's time to step into leadership positions, and those in those leadership positions should take an active interest in changing the situation. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and in that regard, I'm not, in what I was saying, I wasn't necessarily saying that only, whites should be in leadership positions to change, but like in terms of, I think there should be our leadership should represent the beautiful diversity of our nation in terms of, gender, sexuality, sexual orientation, all of those things, religion, all of those things. But I feel like because there are larger proportions of white people in power, in leadership, in those leadership positions, I think they should be taking those positions across all industries, not even our government, but just across all industries, and working to dismantle just those systemic things that have been just leading to the oppression, just continuing the oppression.
Yeah. Well, to say I agree would be an understatement. I've been around in the arts for far too long, and so I have seen protests of so many different kinds. I joke I have two birthdays. I'm 36 and I'm 56. Jay Michaels is 36 because I was born with a very long, very humorous, when translated, Russian name that got me many anti-Semitic remarks that made a lot of doors close in my face because of it. And so I changed my name to change that. But wow. For my whole life, the one thing which I've always realized was, okay, I changed my name, but I can't change anything else. And you can't change your skin. How do you as an artist feel about the world today? As an African-American artist, have you encountered situations, you're a young man, but nonetheless, have you encountered situations where you just said, that's wrong in your own life?
In terms of just in the arts industry in general?
In your life, in terms of the arts. Have you ever auditioned somewhere where you said, oh, they're not going to cast me because, or wait a minute, I didn't like the way I was feeling there, or something? Did you encounter it in the arts?
Yeah, I mean, I had the privilege of growing up and like cultivating my love for theater in Atlanta, and so that's a largely black population, and I went to a school that had a largely black population, and so DSA it's pretty much. I don't know the specific percentages, but it's like largely black. And so most of my peers, while a lot of my staff, a lot of my teachers were not black, that's been a thing. That's been a new thing in terms of NYU, in terms of the new studio on Broadway's just faculty is like led by these beautiful black and brown people, men
Oh,
and
that's
women.
great.
But in high school, that wasn't necessarily the case. But just in terms of my peers. Oh, excuse me. My peers. I was just surrounded by people like that. But I mean, there's always the oh, I if I'm when I'm looking at calls, when I'm looking at like casting calls, I'm like, okay, they're doing Grease, they're doing it's like, are they going to take a chance on having a black Danny or having a black anything? Like, it's the fact that they have to reinvent the wheel in terms of cases. Like, it has to be color conscious casting. So there's always that in the back of my mind that I have to be like show up and be like twice as good just to just be noticed. But yeah, a lot of times it's just like, oh, they're not doing Memphis. Oh, they're not doing Once in this Island. Like, if they're not doing a quote unquote black show, then oftentimes I'm not feeling as comfortable auditioning for the production. Like they were doing for Surflight. They're doing Cabaret, An American in Paris, Legally Blonde, like all of these, more quote unquote like white productions, and so that typically like just makes me kind of apprehensive when auditioning. But then it's the double-edged swords of when you are cast and you are the sole black person. They're just like they're there's just like different you oftentimes have to speak for the whole black population, like all of those concerns like fall on your shoulders, or people go like, oh, the only reason, like so many times, just like the only reason you got into like a lot of schools, or so many reasons you're like cast in production just like because you're a black guy, and then they're just like less black guys, then yeah, it's not because of the amount of hours that I put into training or anything like that. It's just because this form I'm in. But yeah, I mean honestly, I found because I was able to do like in at NYU, I mean I was able to step into like roles that I probably wouldn't have been able to step into before. I feel like they're doing a good job at like letting me I was going to play Demetrius in Midsummer. I've done Shakespeare for the past like it's all sophomore year, and although I did play Othello, which was yeah, but I'm still like I got to play Demetrius. I got to play like Antony. I got to play these monumental characters who not necessarily are quote unquote black, but because I played them, they're black. And yeah, and so just like I've been able to, while I've been able to, get callbacks for like awesome roles for like different Broadway shows that are more quote unquote like looking for a black cast, I've also gotten the opportunity to like show up for, roles that aren't typically in like a black, body. So like Devin Hansen, like, that's Jeremy Jordan, like, Jordan Fisher, like he was the first person to like fully play that role like as a black person. But yeah, I that's a difficult question because it's not more, I haven't had any like overt like backlash against me, but it's more so microaggressions that just pile up during an auditioning process, or during a rehearsal process, or a run if you're in a certain community or anything like that. Yeah.
Do you think this is a loaded question, but I'm looking at it from the parable point of view. A piece of art is a piece of art. We're looking at the parable. We're listening to the music. We're being affected by the emotion. Should we really care about who's white and who's not in a role? If you are absolutely brilliant to play a role, shouldn't that be all that we think about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, well, yes, for general, if the role is not specified and race is not, if race is not like, the way that story's being told, like, in terms of, I feel like for a lot of, the trouble with that, the trouble with like, oh, I'm just going to colorblind cast and just the best person's going to win. Oftentimes, say an August Wilson play, or like say like say A Strange Loop or something like that, where it's like the man is living in a black queer body, a big black queer body. That you need a big black queer man, like person who's going to tell that story. And so I feel like when I just feel like the theater landscape has to be diversified to where I'm not just having to like fit myself into roles that weren't necessarily made for me, although I'm totally up for the challenge for reinventing and recreating and doing that work. But just having not only having like producers that are going to greenlight like these productions for that to happen, but just an audience for that, and just people who are going to take the risk to like let writers tell diverse stories in general. But yes, I feel like it's like if it's for something that's not specified, then there's absolutely no reason why like the best person just shouldn't get the role. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Now you said you're 19. Okay, so you don't remember? I was a reporter for the Daily News during the Rodney King protests in New York,
Yeah.
and so I remember that. I was a kid, but I remember some of the '60s protests and all the what occurred during the '60s. I'm looking at what's going on now,
Mm-hmm.
and it is different. There is a new generation out there. There's the millennial culture of which I believe you're part of. By age,
Z actually.
there you go. But is it different now? I'm getting the feeling something is different out there. That I think something might actually happen because of this. How do you feel about the protests? About what is happening because of it? They're taking down Confederate flags and Confederate statues. There's things being changed. There's groundbreaking things that people are going against the president on what he wanted to do with transgender rights.
Yeah.
Is it different? Do you feel it's different? What do you feel? That's the best way to put it. What do you feel is happening now?
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that so much, like people, I know a lot of people I know like would fault protests or fault rioting, like a lot of people would fault that. But in the past 30 days, there's been so much legislative change, just like in terms of changing laws and changing programs, changing all that stuff, that I think would not have come about if this outrage had not occurred, period. But honestly, I just felt like I've been probably politically conscious since like ninth grade, so like let's say 14 or whatever. So it's not like I've been marching and protesting since the 60s. But and it's not to say that I wasn't like reared in a generation to where I didn't have more privileges and didn't have more opportunities afforded to me than my like mother did, or than my grandmother or her mother did. But just seeing the same for the past 4 years, like we've been protesting around the same circuit for Centennial Park in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And just like I remember when Castile was shot in Minneapolis. And that was like the first time. Well, I remember Trayvon Martin, obviously, but I remember like that was when I was a bit younger though. But I remember Castile and just being so outraged that that was the first time I actually went to a protest and like marched around. And my mom actually let me like go to a protest, and I was like 14, 15 or something like that. And so like this time, I went to a protest for Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and it was just like same, literally the same situation, literally just the same pervasive problem. A And then after, right, like I think like right after like the first week I protested like 2 weeks ago, and then Rayshard Brooks, like he gets shot in Atlanta, Georgia, in Lundy's in Atlanta, Georgia. So then it's just exhausting when you know you're writing your petition, filling out those petitions, you're writing to your representatives, you're writing to police departments, and you're doing all that. But then you just like see the same thing constantly occurring over, and that's just one name. Like there's been so many, like literally just within the past week, like in the past 2 weeks, there's just been so many, and it's just exhausting to where it's just like, is it really moving the needle, And but I would say I feel this time with Floyd, there's been more of I feel like we're at the point where we are reusing hashtags, where the hashtag I can't breathe was trending twice, for entirely separate, high-profile occurrences. And I feel like at this point, it's been like, hey, this is happening. Hey, this is happening. Hey, are you paying attention? This is happening. And it's been like proving that this is a pervasive issue that needs to be corrected. But I think now it's more so, this is happening. How many hashtags how many like names, how many like hopes, dreams, how many lives have been turned into a hashtag? Like it's to the point where it's like, no, this is happening. I can't deny this. How do we change this? And I think there's been so like white fragility and so I'm Not Your Negro, the new Jim Crow, just so many resources are trending in terms of, I feel like my white peers are more so trying to get educated on systemic racism and get educated on how we can correct it. And I feel like that's been a very awesome change, like just a very awesome change in terms of it's not enough to just not be racist. It's not enough to just be like, oh, I love everyone. Like for gay white guys to just be like, oh, I'm fabulous. I love everyone. What are you talking about? It's okay. It's not enough. It's literally we all have to be actively seeking to dismantle a system that is oppressing it's minority people.
Thank you. Thank you. It sounds funny to say this. Like I said, I have been in the theater since forever, and I've been there when certain theaters were simply illegal, but there I was still working with them and whatever. And I always just, whenever I'd see a protest, whenever I would see a rally, whenever I'd see anything, I'd say, oh, good, this will make a difference. And it never does. But I always ended by saying, oh, good, this will make a difference. And it never did. I think you answered a question, and if I can, I want to read something from an email that you had sent me when you showed me your song, and I want to talk about how you put that up and why you put that up, or why you wrote it is more like it. You said, I have nearly exhausted myself attempting to continually explain the effects of constantly seeing black men who could be me killed to the point where we are not only desensitized to it, but we can expect it to happen again in a few weeks. Do you think it has reached the point where individuals are saying, nothing's going to get done, so I have nothing to lose? Do you think the change is that people have finally realized we can't, like you said, we can't just say, oh, look, yeah, I'm fine, I'm equal opportunity, everything's great. Do you think it's at a point where we all have just said, no, we must fight? the difference between a protest and a revolt, for lack of a better term. Do you think we have
Yeah.
reached that point?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's because it is getting to that, 1 week, 2 week period to where it's like a high profile case happens, a couple weeks go by and then everyone's like, oh, it's okay. I'm going to go back to posting bikini pics and my dog and my food and all that stuff. And I feel like that is dwindling more so on my timeline. And that is dwindling in like the political conscious. We're just like, oh yeah, they got out their steam, some stuff happened. Oh, that Supreme Court case happened. Yeah, great. Let's go. And so it's been, not apathy, but complacency. I've seen like a bit of complacency, but I see so much more of the narrative is now changed to, hey, this is not just a Black Lives Matter Spirit Week. This is a movement. This is a revolution that has to sustain until it is dismantled. Like until everything that is just until our demands are met and until it's we have dismantled this system. And yeah, I feel like there is that yeah.
So we need to dismantle this system. We can't just say, oh good, they'll protest and then there'll be a law and everything will be fine. We need to stand there with our arms folded until something gets done.
Yes.
And when I say we, I mean you all do. We
Yes.
can't just say, oh, they got it, it's fine. Oh, well, not bothering me. No, because when will we be next? I think there's that ancient story about they've come for this person, they've come for this person. When will they come for me? And I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to stand up now. I don't think we should just say, oh, I got this. Now let me put up my picture of my cat again.
Yeah.
I also think, do you think that is, I was so amazed. There was a comedian of all things that was talking about all the various senseless murders of African Americans over the last 6 months or so.
Oh yeah.
And I remember sitting there hearing this going, what? Do you think we're finally seeing the true picture? I won't say the big picture because that could be superficial. The true picture? Could some of these murders have gone unnoticed if we were just in that complacent mind?
I think also just the fact that we're all in isolation, like the fact that we're all in quarantine, has been helping this as well. Just because we're not mired in our commutes, or we're not mired in our daily in and out of our job. We're just in our own bubbles, and so we're just constantly being stimulated, and oftentimes by social media, by news, and everything like that. And then we're probably having a little bit more time to do things just because we're not going out so much. And I think just because these so many things happen in such a short amount of time that reached trending level, that reached a high profile status, and people had the time. Unfortunately, it took people a global pandemic and people having time to care about reckless killings. But yeah, I feel like that's changed it a lot as well. Just people just having the time to consider those facts and not be able to deny the fact that it's happening.
We're all in a virtual timeout. We're all sitting in the corner now, so we all have a chance to really see what's going on in the world. We're not running for the bus. We're not going shopping. We're not heading toward our lives. We now finally get to see the world around us.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Why did you write your song? You're obviously an artist, and so to write a song is one thing, but why did you write it? What made you want to write it now?
Yeah. So the first two stanzas are more so written last year when just all the issues in Sudan were happening, and then no, more so we just paid attention to what's the French cathedral, the Notre Dame, the Cathedral of Notre Dame. We're more so paying attention to that than the atrocities that are happening in Sudan, and so that just made me very irritated. And so those are where the two stanzas came from. But then I was just listening. I don't know. It's just with Ahmad. It was just there were multiple times where I was just walking like back home and I was like just having to look over my shoulder. Or, like I'm currently staying in like more of a just a predominantly whiter neighborhood right now, and then just walking through there, like that's been like look over my shoulder sometimes, and so I don't know, just I feel like how I communicate is through art, and I just wanted to like more so put something, just because you have all these like amorphous things just like going around, but then when you're able to articulate it in something, especially articulate it in a higher form like poetry or rap or anything like that, it just helps more so just get your thoughts out and get all like the weights just off. And yeah, it was what's terrible. Like one of the statements I use, and I say, this mask ain't the reason I can't breathe, and ankle weights pull me down like lock against my feet. But I can't even take a jog in the street. This mask ain't the reason I can't breathe. Ankle weights pull me down, lock against my feet, but hands up, I guess they're staying on me. So I was more saying it in response to the killing of Ahmaud, and so then George Floyd happened a couple days after, literally for over 8 minutes, just a cop feeling it's appropriate and that he has the power to just press his knee on George Floyd's neck for over 8 minutes as he's crying out, like, I can't breathe, crying out for his mother, crying out, just pleading. And just that, that just like shook me to my core. The fact that he just like the exact same, like he was, yeah. So afterwards I just like had to take a step back, and then I was just like, oh my gosh. But then the next few scans is just about like how so much of American culture is Black culture. Like the top on the pop charts, like you're gonna see a trap song, you're gonna see a rap song, and such like Black culture is so highlighted in American culture and so praised in American culture, and just like
It's part of the foundation.
There's not American culture.
It's part of the foundation.
Yes, like there's not American culture without Black culture, frankly. And
Yeah.
so just being so irritated at the fact that like I don't know, one of the stanzas is like, I'm scavenge upon my flesh, you vulture, terminate me but taste my culture, feast upon rappers like ballers, actors, do you love us? I bet you don't, cuz like all of this atrocities are just happening, it's just, I feel like oftentimes Black culture is just celebrated, but that same reverence does not go for Black lives.
To the person.
Yeah.
Well, you're the epitome of an artist as far as I'm concerned, because that's what we all need to do. We can't sit at home and say, oh, that's terrible. We can't be a Monday morning quarterback. We have to sing, we have to speak, we have to write, we have to present. We're the abstract and brief chronicle of the time, so said a little known author named William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Well, it's not in the room, it's out there. We're in the room. What's going to be the world? What's going to be the artistic community when the curtains go back up, when we're able to, when the quarantine is over?
Yeah.
What's our world going to be like? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are wanting to, they just want to get back to normal. But what a lot of my, peers have been saying, like peers of color, like have been saying, normal just doesn't cut it. Like normal isn't what's normal. We have a very amazing opportunity, I feel, that just like to where we can pause and reflect on what we've deemed okay, what we've deemed this is okay in terms of where our industry's at, in terms of like who should be in leadership positions, in terms of what stories should be told, in terms of like pay, in terms of like representation, diversity, all of these things. And while I would love to say, oh, everyone's gonna, be amazing, it's just gonna be great, and we're gonna bounce it, I I personally I personally don't know. I mean, I would hope that it would be more reflective of, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I would hope that would be more, representational of like the beautiful diversity that is New York, that is America, and that we could, seek to tell stories that portray that diversity, and not just like, based on race, just on
Right.
the beautiful intersectionality of the diversity of America. But I don't know, Jay.
Well, that's been the answer. I've interviewed nearly 100 people, and that's been the answer. Oh, we could have this, we could have this, we could have this, we could have this, but I don't know. So we normally I'm able to do the math and say, oh, this is going to happen, so this will happen. I'm the same way, you know.
Yeah. I think we do have to, like I said, across all spectrums and across all industries, but especially in our industry, the industry that we're working in, there has to be a reframing of, it's not just okay to do colorblind casting to be like not racist. It has to be, I'm actively seeking to diversify my reading list and actively seeking to diversify the writers, the producers, the directors, like across all spectrums. It can't just be like, white leadership telling black stories, and yeah, like hopefully there's just going to be more of a priority set for, yeah, just having our stories told, but like having it, having like the process of building it up to that, like, be representative of, the diversity of our nation.
Well, you just taught me a few things. Um, when this is over, of course, I need to put my mind in a particular focus as well, and I'm so glad I learned that from you. Thank you so much for this. It's been enlightening. It's been wonderful speaking to you again.
I haven't seen you since like November, December. Wow.
Yeah, the last time I saw you, I was up in a balcony going, I hope this is good, and you were just being absolutely marvelous on stage. Thank you so much. I wish you the best. I know I will hear amazing things from you in the future. And I know that you're heading off to regional theater for a while, and I know you're going to come back the conquering hero. So it was a pleasure speaking to you, and I look forward to chatting with you, maybe like in person one day.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jay.
you. Thanks so much.